All right, great. I think I have all the settings officially set here. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome you. My name is Chris. I'm a bookseller at Boswell, if you didn't know that. Now you do. And today is day 4,165 that Boswell has been a bookstore in business. And I'm so excited to welcome you guys all to our evening. We're so excited to welcome Héctor Colón here this evening for a conversation. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sharon to do a little bit of introducing. Sharon, welcome. Welcome to both.
Thank you so much. Hector, what a special night. I am so very happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very excited and so happy to be here with you and my family and friends that are joining in on with us. Thank you.
That is awesome. You know, I've told you a few times now that I'm the perfect person to have this conversation with you tonight. And I know that sounds really awful to the people who are listening, but I say so because so many of the people that are with us online right now have walked your journey with you from a young boy to today. And it's only fitting that these folks sit back, relax, and enjoy this very special celebratory night with you. And I know that you wanted to say a few words to them, so I'm going to turn it over to you for that.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to thank the many people who have had major contributions in my life. I want to start off with my mother, my wife, my kids, all my family, my extended family, my friends, Shorty and Dora, UCC, Ricardo Diaz, Jose Olivieri, just all of the people that I've worked with throughout my career. Everybody at LSS, there's a lot of people on from LSS. John Howman, who helped recruit me to become the president and CEO at LSS, and just the numerous people that helped me put this book together. I'm so thankful to all of them, and to you, Sharon, who also played a role in helping me. Thank you so much. And thank you, Boswell. Thank you, Boswell, for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I'm just very humbled and honored to be here with you tonight. So thank you for letting me be part of it. So I am just wanting to jump in to your book and to talk about it. So let's go. You have a 10-year championship boxing career with 6 years on the USA national boxing team, winning 7 national titles, the first at age 11. You are the first in your family to graduate high school and college with honors, I might add. You jumped headfirst into a political career that often forced you to learn on the job. You are a Christian, entrepreneur, husband, father, son, and brother, and now president and CEO of one of the largest nonprofit organizations in the Midwest. And tonight, I have to say officially, a published author. Your book packs in experiences from 2 lifetimes, which is why I understand you call this a memoir book. But why at the age of 47 did you want to release a book about your life now?
Yeah, throughout my life, people have encouraged me to share my story, especially when I gave up the sport of boxing when I was 20. Really not even, I haven't reached my potential, and I could have had a very lucrative career. And actually my wife's cousin said that I should write about that. And then throughout my life, people have become familiar with some of the challenges I faced and some of my successes, and have encouraged me along the way. And I just felt it was the right timing now as president and CEO. And I really hope to inspire those individuals that have experienced similar challenges to mine, to give them the inspiration that they can overcome. I also want to inspire leaders looking for a different way of leading through a servant leadership approach, through leading with values and virtues, and that they can obtain extraordinary results through that approach. And I also want to encourage you, everybody on this Zoom call and others, to share your stories. We need more people willing to share their good stories, because we need more positive stories in our society now more than ever. And I know there are many. So I'm encouraging you to write your story as well.
That's awesome. You know, and I've read a few iterations of your book, in which, by the way, I received my copy yesterday, which I'm very excited about. But to me, your book reads like Muhammad Ali's quote, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." You really take me along your journey where I feel stung by your adversity and hardships, and then literally in just like one sentence or one paragraph, I feel whimsical, nostalgic, hopeful, and elated. You know, your book is really intentional and turbulent, a read that allows me to empathize with you and then at the same time really place my own experiences in a new light as I look at the 5 essential virtues, which we'll get to in a little bit. But there's this ever-present juxtaposition throughout which matches what you describe boxing as, which is this sweet science, right, of a constant mix of joys and woes. I want to start with one of your stingers, if you don't mind, and I'm wondering if you could please read the first excerpt that you've chosen from your book, My Journey from Boxing Ring to Boardroom, 5 Essential Virtues for Life and Leadership.
Yes, thank you. On a summer day in 1982, when I was 9 years old, I came home with a bloody nose. It wasn't the first time that Adam had hurt me, but it was the first time he had hit me hard enough to draw blood. Adam was my age, one of many Polish kids whose families had lived in the neighborhood for generations, and he took an unpleasant interest in me. One of his favorite pastimes consisted of following me around and taunting me, drawing on vast arsenal of racial slurs he had evidently picked up from his father. These encounters inevitably ended with me getting knocked in the head. This time was different. When I came home crying, the blood still drying on my chin, my father demanded to know what had happened. With tears in my eyes, I repeated what Adam had told me. "We don't want you here. You spick, you N-word. Leave our neighborhood now." I had seen my father, Papi, angry before, but now I could also see the pain in his eyes. He didn't want to see his children's lives defined by the uncompromising racism prevalent in our neighborhood at the time. Back then, my grandmother often told me to stay out of the sun, fearing that my skin would become too dark. Papi could not bear to watch us face the discrimination alone. He needed to shield us. He left to talk with Adam's father. I can still picture Adam's father, tall and intimidating. He did his best to avoid looking in my direction. If he did happen to catch sight of me, his face always rearranged into the same expression, his lip curling in a look of disgust. It was hard to imagine he would be very receptive to anything so banal as reason or morality. My father returned home with a stony expression. "The next time you see Adam, you will defend yourself. Then he will leave you alone."
Thank you for sharing that, Hector. And this is such an important story for you to share, especially in our time and place in our world today. And I want to put this story into perspective too for our listeners. You know, within 3 years of you being bullied by Adam, your father had left, your sister, sweet sister, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Your mom was working 3 jobs to support you and your family. You were struggling in school. You had 2 friends who had died from drug overdose, and there was gang violence in the neighborhood. And I just want to, go into that young boy's head, right? What were you telling yourself during this highly stressful time in your life?
I was confused. I was hurt. I was angry. When my father left, I was truly devastated. When I saw my sweet sister, who used to play Monopoly with me and help me with my math and really helped me in school as a young child, something my parents weren't really able to do, I was just confused. When my friends were dying, I was hurt. But I always felt resilient. And one thing I remember is I was always busy. And so I always had my mind occupied. I was playing sports. I had a paper out. I was hustling at night to get more customers. I was in the boxing gym. I was in the baseball diamond. So I always was busy. I kept myself busy so that I wouldn't think so much, but there were some nights that were harder than others.
Yeah. What is an ACE score?
Yeah, ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Trauma Effects. And there's a score of up to 10. There's a series of questions, and the score can go up to 10. I have a score of 6. And a score of 6, according to research, would indicate that I would have 1,200% likelihood of having depression, or a 200% likelihood of committing suicide.
I mean, that's incredible. Every time you say that, it's stunning to me. But in the same light, it also brings hope that, you know, even as a young boy, you were going through a lot of stress, but you did find it within you to be resilient and to stay busy. And look at where you are now, that there is hope, you know, for people who might be struggling like you were as a young boy as well. You know, and so bringing you back to that day when your father said you are going into the boxing ring, he was so resolute about that decision. And you've been bullied by Adam before. So why was this time so different? What was his decision maker?
Yeah, I mean, I would go home and share some of the stories with my mother and father, just the names I was called, and that you know, he didn't really want to play with me and things like that hurt. But this one was different because I came home with a bloody nose. I was crying, and I was really hurt. And I remember. You know, my father is not very an emotional guy. Never really saw him cry, actually, until recently. But he was not emotional. I saw the tears well up in his eyes, and he was really hurt.
Let's talk a little bit about your father, Héctor Manuel Colón. You are named after him.
Yes.
Can you describe him for us?
Yeah, my father was a great father, good man, really learned a lot of good morals and values from him. He really was a man of, you know, if demanded respect and also respected others, taught me good work ethic. He was very competitive. He was my baseball coach. He would take my friends and I to the baseball diamond and teach us fundamentals so that we could be good. And he also taught us what teamwork is, taught us what a sacrifice bunt is, you know, talked about how we work as a team. I remember nobody on the team wanted to be a catcher. I was the smallest kid on the team probably at the time, and he asked me to step up to be catcher. And I really didn't want to do it at first, but I ended up doing it because nobody wanted to. And he taught me how valuable that was to the team. And I ended up becoming, by the time I was 12, the best catcher in the league.
Wow. You know, and your father was the reason that you got into the boxing ring, and you didn't want to be there either, right? It didn't make sense to you. You felt out of place. Can you just share a little bit with us about what that experience was like?
Yeah, I remember going to the gym and not really being interested because my father was all about baseball, and that's what I really enjoyed. And I just remember going to the gym and lots of big, huge guys that were sweating, people were in the ring bleeding, and grunting, and just felt like a lot of chaos at first. But I went in there and ended up staying there.
Yes, and meeting your coach, Israel Shorty Acosta, your first and only boxing coach. On that very first day in the boxing ring, what did he say to your father?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say I love you, Shorty. I know he's on the call, Shorty Andorra. You know, Shorty, everybody calls him Shorty, but he's truly a giant. And I'm so thankful to have you in my life. He put me in front of the mirror and started showing me some combinations. And right away, he told my father, your son is a natural. He's going to become a champion. And the way he said it just immediately boosted up my self-esteem and my self-confidence.
Absolutely. So you're coming from being bullied and beaten and called awful names by, you know, Adam and his father, and you're 9 years old. And this is what you received from Shorty. That's such a gift. Mm-hmm. How much time between you entering the gym and your very first match?
I think it was about 6 months, and during that 6 month period, we learned how to run in the morning and work out in the evenings, and started sparring, and Shorty felt I was ready for my first match.
6 months. What happened in that first real match?
Yeah, so I lost. It was a close fight, and of course, Shorty said, "Champ, I thought you won," and but I was crying a lot. I felt embarrassed, and I really didn't want to do it anymore. And right away, my coach said, "Come on, you're good. You can become a champion. Don't worry. It takes time." And so I did it again, and I lost my second fight. And this time I really wanted to give up, because at the time I'm like, when you box, there's this intense fear that you feel before getting into the ring. And there's nothing fun about that. Then you go into the ring and you lose. There's nothing fun about that. And it's even worse when you come out crying and you feel humiliated. So I was like, I'm done. And it was the way Shorty talked to me this last time. He said, "Come on, champ. Don't be a quitter. You could be a champ. Don't be a quitter." And he repeated it a couple times, and it really resonated with me. I feel that for the first time in my life, I felt a challenge I wanted to take on. And I'm glad he encouraged me, because that third time, I beat the guy that I fought the second time. And by the time I was 14, I won my first junior Olympic national championship at 106 pounds. And then that following year, I won it at 125 when I was 15. Right there is when I knew that I was gifted, because if you look at all the past major Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard, they won those championship titles, and I'm on the books with them, and I'm like, okay, this is something big. I knew there was something special, and I knew I had a lot of talent.
And not only that, right? You ended up becoming a 7-time national champion in 6 different weight classes, traveling all over the world with the USA national boxing team. So I'm going to fast forward us now to 20 years old, okay? You're now on your way to the Olympic trials. But first you had to fight Vernon Forrest and Jesse Brasino. Can you take us through that experience? And first, can you just share a little bit about what your opponents were like at the time?
Ooh, those guys were mean.
What do you mean by mean?
Oh gosh, Vernon Forrest. So Vernon Forrest and I were called up to the Olympic Training Center when we were 14 years old, because the hopes of us making the 1992 Olympics. So I know he was good. He was always taller than me, a little bigger than me, but then we ended up being at the same weight. And he was just mean, tall, muscular, would stare you down. But then after the fight, he would smile, and I would see him smile, and he was just a really good-hearted guy, wonderful human being later on in life and in the professional ranks. Jesse Brasino, that guy was mean. I never saw that guy smile until recently on Facebook. So I looked at his profile. I'm so glad this guy could smile, because that guy, when I would look at, he was just so mean.
Wow.
He stare you down, and I'd stare him back down too. But after the fight, I see the guy, you want to smile at him, but he never smiled. So these guys were just fierce and mean, and they try to be intimidating. That's what the sport of boxing is.
So what type of training is needed to be at that level? Like, what was a typical workout for you?
Yeah, it's very rigorous. And in the morning, I would wake up in the morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock for a morning run. And it wouldn't matter if it's snowing, if it's below 0 degrees. In fact, that really hyped me up, because I would go out there, I would run in the snow, and I would talk to myself, and I'm like, Vernon Forrest isn't running in the snow, and he's not in below 0 degrees. And I would kind of motivate myself that way. And then I would work out in the afternoon at my school. I would lift weights. And then in the evening, and I would do that for about an hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon. And then in the evening, I would do 2 to 3 hours in the evening, sparring, hitting the bag, hand pads. One thing I felt is that I was going to outwork my opponents. I was very talented, I would say gifted, but I wasn't the most gifted. I wasn't the fastest. I didn't have, the best defense. I had good defense. I didn't have the quickest feet. But one thing I felt is that I was going to outwork you.
That's awesome. I was thinking as you were talking about that, that is a full-time job, just that workout, on a daily basis. And funny that that's the first time I heard somebody spin our Wisconsin weather in that positive light before. That's awesome. All right. So tell us about the matches with Forrest and Brasino. What happened?
Yeah, so Vernon Forrest, just a tall guy, really strong with both hands. I remember, so I beat him the first time, and then I beat him again. It was a close decision. The second time I beat him, it was 3 judges had it for me, 2 judges had it for him. He was tall, trying to jab me, keep me at a distance, and Shorty would encourage me to go to the body, bring him down, double left hooks, and tough fight, and I won. And it was that second time that I beat him. So here we are. We're both called to be the future of the Olympic team in 1992. I beat this guy twice. I'm thinking I'm making the Olympics at 139 pounds. Then the following year, he beat me, and I was devastated. It was a 3-2. This time, 3 judges scored it for him, and two judges scored it for me. I was devastated, and I took some time off, and I gained some weight, and then another tournament came up, and I was like 144 pounds, and I couldn't make the weight at 139. And my coach has this incredible confidence in me. He said, "Don't worry, we're going to fight 147." And mind you, at the time, I really should have been a 132 pounder, not even a 139. But I always had power and felt comfortable. And so then I ended up fighting 147. And I ended up knocking everybody out. And then Shorty was like, "Come on, champ, let's stay at 147 instead of going back down to 139. And that's what I did. And then I was actually favored to go to the Olympics as a welterweight instead of 139 now. Now I was favored to go as a welterweight. And I fought Jesse Brasino in the Olympic trials, and I lost. He was very awkward fighter. He was a southpaw. He was throwing punches from all different angles. It was hard to figure him out. It was a close fight, but I lost, and I was devastated.
That was a real turning point for you, right? And what you did next was something that no one could have predicted. What did you do?
So I was so hurt at the time. I wasn't hearing from the big time promoters about making millions, and my aspirations of winning the gold medal was all gone, and I was just hurt and very hurt. And I was searching, and on December 27, 1992, I bought my first Bible and gave my life to Christ. And my life has been blessed ever since.
That's awesome. It was at this point in the book, actually, that I thought this might be the end of boxing for you. Was it?
No, I did continue boxing, and I fought Jesse Brasino 6 months later for the U.S. National Welterweight Championship. But this time I was focused, mind, body, and spirit. When I lost to him the last time, I was not focused. And even to this day, there's a pinch in my heart because the biggest opportunity of my life, and I wasn't focused. And so this time when I had the rematch, there was nobody beating me. And I ended up knocking him out in the first round for the U.S. Championship. That fight was on cable television, came out on the front cover of USA Boxing Magazine, inside cover of Sports Illustrated, and the promoter started coming back.
Wow, what an incredible time. Looking back now, Hector, would you say that this is the time where you started to understand how the 5 essential virtues were really starting to help shape your life?
You know, the fundamentals of those virtues and the definitions of those virtues. Yes.
Yeah. Can you just share what those 5 virtues are? And if you don't mind, just give a brief description of each.
Sure. So the 5 virtues in my book for life and leadership, the first one is magnanimity. And that's really about striving for greatness. When you're a boxer, you're not trying to be number two. In fact, it feels terrible. So fighting 10 years on a national level, 7 of those years I was rated number one. 1 year I was rated number two, and the other 2 years I was rated number three. And there's nothing good about not being champion, but you train with the intensity, with the dedication, determination, and discipline to be a champion. So magnanimity is really that striving for greatness. Humility is at its core, it's about serving others. And I saw, my coach, Israel Acosta, Shorty, who's a giant, serve me, where he would spend his nights with me, his weekends with me. He even took me into his house where he loved me and fed me and made me the champ that I am today. Courage is about facing your fears and really fighting to do the right thing. Perseverance, which is about not giving up, and temperance, which is about self-control and restraint. I learned all those virtues in the ring.
Thank you. So the next part of your life experience was wrapped up in a lot of activity. So I'm just going to summarize it for you. 2 academic degrees, taking on and leading important government efforts as a lobbyist, economic development director, serving in the governor's cabinet in the Department of Workforce Development, as Wisconsin Commissioner for Boxing and Mixed Martial Arts, and then Director of Health and Human Services. Do I have all of that right?
Yes.
All right. What is the one thing that you took into those experiences that you learned from boxing?
Be ready. Like I wasn't ready for the Olympics, and then I was ready that following year. Is be ready, and also work really hard with the dedication, determination, and discipline. It took me to be a champion boxer. It's the same dedication, determination, and discipline I apply into my life, and really striving for excellence in everything that I do, whether it be as a husband, as a father, or as a CEO. I'm working really hard. And I want to be ready.
Let's take that bit of experience, what I had just summarized, and talk about how you were ready for the opportunities that presented themselves to you at that time, okay? So if you can share a few examples of how the virtues actually helped to ready you for those opportunities, I'll take you along. So magnanimity. So one of the things that I remember reading in the book was about a student at MATC who looked at you sideways a lot like Adam did. So can you kind of talk about how did magnanimity show up in that experience?
Yeah, so, I was going to be a boxer, and I didn't take school very seriously in high school. And I always wanted to go back to school, but it wasn't my focus. And I remember when I first got into MATC, I scored really low on my entrance exam. And I started taking some basic courses and kind of felt embarrassing, but I knew I was smarter than that. I ended up convincing the counselor the next semester to allow me to take regular courses. I don't know how I did it, but I persuaded her, and I ended up taking regular courses. And I took anatomy and physiology, and that's a very hard course. The bones and the muscles and the nerves and veins, and it's just a lot. And so I ended up studying, and took my first exam and ended up getting a B-. And I was pretty happy with that B-. And I was trying to develop a rapport with the guy next to me, and I asked him what he got. And quickly he looked at me a little upset. And so I realized and kind of regretted that I asked him. I thought we're cool, and I thought it was okay, but clearly he didn't like that I asked him what he got. But then he told me, he said he got an A. And then he asked me what I got, and I got a B-. I told him. And that's when he gave me that look, kind of like, why are you asking me? And then you got a B- and you're like proud of it or something. I could imagine what he's saying. And it was just the way he looked at me. And I remember at that moment, I told myself, he is never going to look at me like that again. And I don't care if it's going to take me twice as long as it took him to achieve that A. That next time, that A became my standard. So that's where excellence grew in that example. And I ended up graduating with honors.
That's awesome. And yeah, and side note, right, about with the PT program that he actually wanted to get into that program as well as you did.
Yes.
And you were able to get into that before him. That's a huge deal. That is magnanimity, not giving up. So let's move into courage. So there was when you were a lobbyist, there's a doubtful alderman that you came across that didn't necessarily know if you could do the job. So where did courage take over there?
Yeah, I want to actually thank Ricardo Diaz here too, who, he was behind me. He had this confidence in me. And, here I am. We started talking about the position. He said, hey, it's a great position. I think you'll do well, and recommended me to the mayor. Mayor gave me this great opportunity. Then I started doing the rounds with the aldermen, and one alderman said, hey, I saw your resume. I think you're a nice guy, but I'm not sure you're qualified for this position. Let's talk a little bit more. And the first question he asked, he said, are you a Republican? And I said, no, I'm not a Republican, but I'm also not a Democrat. I'm independent, and talk to me about the issue and I'll tell you where I stand. And then he interrupted me and he said, Hector, we have a Republican controlled legislator. We need someone with ties to Republicans. And I started to tell him a little bit about my connections. He stopped me and said, have you ever lobbied before? And I said, no, but I'll tell you a little bit about how my skills are transferable. And again, he interrupted me. He goes, look, I don't know what Mayor Barrett is thinking. This is one of the most important positions we have in city government, and you're not qualified. So then I started advocating a little bit more for myself. And I told him to call Ricardo Diaz, who, ended up calling him, and Ricardo sung my praises. And the next day the alderman said, hey, I heard great things, good luck. But clearly he wasn't convinced. And when I was there, and it was, here I'm challenged by the alderman. I had never lobbied before. And now I got this big burden on me because I wanted to, when I get opportunities, I don't want to let anybody down. Didn't want to let Ricardo down, didn't want to let Mayor Barrett down. But I worked really hard, and I learned the craft and developed relationships with the Republicans, John Gard at the time. And while I was there, we were able to get more legislation passed in 1 year compared to a team of lobbyists, 4 to 6 lobbyists over 2 sessions combined over 4 years. I was able to get in 1 year. So I'm very proud of the opportunity Mayor Barrett gave me, the confidence he had in me, and I don't take that lightly.
Awesome. Perseverance. Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority, or WHEDA. You didn't know the language when you got started. Talk about that.
Yeah, so here I am. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the second largest bank by way of assets in the state of Wisconsin. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a finance background. I never worked in a bank. And I had this incredible opportunity. I'm so thankful to Michael Morgan, who was a champion for me to get me that job, and Antonio Riley and Governor Doyle for giving me that opportunity. And I remember entering in one of my first board meetings, and everybody speaking a different, like if it was a different language, and I truly didn't understand, what they were talking about. But I took notes. I started taking courses, commercial real estate and financial statements, and started networking with bank CEOs. And before you know it, I was talking their language and learn the business. And at one point I wanted to become a president and CEO of a bank. But I really immersed myself into the industry, and there's record numbers of loan guarantees and revenue that exist even to this day during the time that I was there, due to the incredible team I put in place.
Wow. Humility. So you returned to Vox, and it was around that time that your wife, Mari, prompted you to grow in your faith.
Mm. Yeah, I want to thank my incredible wife. She's my soulmate. She's my best coach. She's going to tell me like it is. And she's also going to encourage me and truly be behind me. So I'm so thankful for her challenging me on my priorities, making sure that I'm putting my kids first, making sure that I'm putting my family first, making sure that I'm putting God first. And I'm just so thankful that I have her in my life, and part of humility is listening to her, because she has incredible wisdom and is very special.
What a blessing. Temperance. So when you were Director of Health and Human Services for Milwaukee County, there was a lot of adversity. And if you can describe how you used temperance when working with the county board and others during that time.
Yeah, the county job, that's a very, very hard job. It's a hard job. It's a thankless job. It's an underpaid job. And I'm so proud of the work we did along with my team. I know Randy's on the call and Michelle is on the call. They worked with me when I was at the county. We turned multi-million-dollar deficits into multi-million-dollar surpluses, serving more people with better quality, with human dignity. It was just absolutely amazing, the work that we did while we were there. But it was just so hard. The politics, how people treated me. I was unfairly, things that were said about me that were untrue, and then they appear in the newspaper, and then I gotta explain it to my mom and my family, and they get really worried, and it was a stressful time. But things are said about you that are untrue. Sometimes you get stabbed in the back, and you got to have temperance. You got to have self-restraint. You got to have self-control. It's like when I was in the boxing ring. When I would get hit, I don't start fighting back. I got to compose myself. I got to strategize. I got to think, okay, how am I not going to get hit next time? And or if I get hit with a low blow and the referee didn't see it, I don't hit him with a low blow, because now I might get disqualified. So I learned that temperance from boxing. Just stay calm and reflect and think before you react. And I had to do a lot of that at the county, because it was hard.
These are such powerful lessons, Hector. And I'm even seeing some of that showing up in the chat, that these are incredible lessons for all of us, and they really are, they work together. They have to work together. You need all of those things, right, to find your greatness. And all of these opportunities that you just went through and the ways in which you applied the virtues really helped to prepare you for that ultimate experience, your ultimate goal of becoming a president and CEO. And I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about that journey at Lutheran Social Services of Wisconsin and Upper Michigan, or as we call LSS, where you now serve as president and CEO. This is a large 800-person social services organization, one of the largest in the Midwest. How did it all start?
Yeah, so John Howman, who I saw is on the call. John, I love you. Thank you so much for approaching me. So he contacted me and said, hey, everywhere I turn, people say I need to speak with you. I have this president and CEO position. Would you be interested in having a conversation? And so we were scheduled to have a glass of wine. It was supposed to just be an hour. We ended up spending 2 hours, and he went home to his wife, his upset wife. But he tells me now that when he went home, he said, if this were my company, I would hire Hector on the spot. Wow. But it was a 6-month process. And, midway through the process, I considered withdrawing my name, because I wasn't sure if this organization would hire me. I would have been, or I am, the first non-Lutheran, non-pastor, non-Norwegian to run the organization. And I just wasn't entirely sure if they were going to go with someone like me. and I was reluctant. But then after talking to John Howman and also the HR consultant that was involved in the process, they gave me enough encouragement. I mean, I didn't have the job. They didn't say I had the job, but they said I have to continue to go through the process in order to get it. But I felt like it was worth doing. And in hindsight, as I think about this even now, there's probably a part of me that was afraid of failing, afraid of not getting it, and maybe even feeling embarrassed about that. But I'm so happy that I decided to move forward. It was a good process for the organization as well as for myself. Being a 6-month process, I have to say it was kind of long.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, it was good because we got an opportunity to get to know each other and to realize it was a good fit.
You know, that self-doubt stuff can pop up anywhere. And that's why the virtues are so important, because it refocuses you and grounds you, right? I mean, what a testament to your courage and perseverance at that time, but a true testament to LSS as well. And the ways in which you were all able to come together. Yes. And so glad that it all worked out. I love working with you.
Wow, thank you so much.
So now you've been with LSS for almost 4 years. Is it everything you imagined? And what struggles and successes have you experienced?
It's everything and more. This is an organization with a great reputation, a great legacy, credibility, produces amazing results for over 138 years. And I want to thank Dave Larson, who was the president and CEO before me, a great, humble servant leader. He was so graceful. When I joined the organization, he was just there to support me and just be there for me. So he made the transition really nice. So I want to thank him and for the many contributions he has made in this organization over time. But this is an organization with a great mission. It impacts a lot of people all throughout Wisconsin and Upper Michigan. But we did face some challenges when I came in. You know, our organization met 2 budgets in a 10-year period of time. And during that period of time, we lost $10 million. Right before I got here, we lost $2 million. In my first budget, we budgeted at a $500,000 loss. We ended up coming 67,000 positive. And my second budget, we ended up budgeting at a break even. And that one, we ended up coming in 2.4 million positive to budget. Then my third year, which is really this year right now, this budget that we're in right now, we budgeted at a $850,000 gain. And then the pandemic hit us. It was just devastating. We were facing to lose $1 million of revenue per month if we wouldn't have done nothing. But I'm surrounded by an incredible, strong team that pivoted quickly. They adapted, they innovated, and they collaborated in order for us to be a strong, viable organization. And it is likely that this year we're not only going to meet, but exceed our budget, even though we had the potential of losing that $1 million of revenue. So it's really credit to the amazing team that I have. I'm so humbled to be surrounded by them. It's another reason why I love this organization, not only my leadership team, but the 800 staff that are in this organization. They teach me something each and every day by their humble servant hearts, the compassion they bring to serve not only the people we serve, but we serve each other. So I love it. Thank you, John, for the opportunity to be in this wonderful organization. And thank you, ELCA and LSS, for allowing someone with my background to lead this wonderful organization. I promise not to let you down.
Well, and that you are leading the organization. I was thinking back in your book about how Shorty told your dad, Hector means business. And he was not kidding. You and your team mean business for sure. You know, Chris, I'm going to just pop in here because it's 7:50. And I know that we were supposed to open up for questions like around 7:45. Hector, if you're good with that, maybe we can see if there's some folks on the line that would like to ask a couple of questions.
Sure, that's fine. Happy
Okay,
to.
all right.
Perfect. It seems like perfect question time to me.
Okay.
We already have a question for you in the chat. So let me go to that one. Peter Murray says, it is exciting to see Shorty Acosta is with us for today's launch. Are there one or two of his key teachings for which you are most grateful?
Yeah, don't give up. When he encouraged me not to give up, look, man, if I would have gave up in boxing back then, I wouldn't have experienced many beautiful experiences. I mean, I got to travel all over the world. I consider myself poor, but then I saw what true poverty was when I went to Barbados. To be able to go to Russia, Ireland, Scotland, Poland, Germany, Canada, all over the United States, Caribbean. I mean, as a poor kid, to have these experiences was just absolutely amazing. And so perseverance is one thing that he taught me. But the other thing that he taught me was humility, and that was through his actions. Like I said earlier, he spent his nights with me, sacrificed his vacations. He took me into his own house when I was 16 years old because he was worried I had some friends and he wasn't too sure about them. And he took me and he loved me and fed me and made me the champion that I am today.
Powerful lessons. So Gary Morales has a question for you. Says, what do you aspire to achieve in the next, say, 3 to 5 years, both professionally and personally?
Thank you. Yeah, so I want to grow LSS to be $100 million organization within the next 10 years. Would love to double our endowment from 25 million to 50 million. And this will allow us to serve more people in Wisconsin and Upper Michigan, more people that could really benefit from the quality of services that LSS could provide. And it will also offer lots of individuals employment opportunities for an organization that is servant-led and is going to work really hard to serve them, to make sure that their health and well-being is our number one priority. So I would love to work along with my team and everybody in the organization to grow this organization over the next 10 years. Personally, I just want to personally continue to strive for excellence, for magnanimity in my spiritual life, in my personal life with my family. It's my desire to help my family get to heaven, help my friends and community get to heaven. So I want to continue that personal apostolate to have an impact on others in a very positive way.
Okay. One more question here. We've got time for a couple more. Judith Adrian says, what is your key learning from being on the UW Board of Regents in this Corona time?
Wow. Well, it's another huge honor to be on the UW Board of Regents, an institution that also had a major impact on my life, having my bachelor's and master's degree there. It's tough times. I mentioned that we had, we were faced with losing $1 million of revenue per month. I mean, it's like tens of millions for them. So it's a really tough time, but I have to say that it's been very encouraging, the level of talent that exists on that board. And it's very bipartisan. I love it. There's Republicans, there's Democrats, and they're all focused on one thing, and that's to ensure that the faculty are served well, the students get a great education, and that we can be an economic engine for the state. And we're blessed to have Tommy Thompson lead us right now. There was a search that there was an individual that they had, and then he backed out. So he was no longer interested. And then our board chair ended up sourcing some candidates and found Tommy Thompson. And everybody feels that he's a great fit right now at this time due to his experience. So it's been very, very interesting. It's a lot of learning. It's a lot of work, but something I'm very excited to be a part of.
Hey, how you doing, Hector? I'm Jose Crespo's friend,
Hey,
and
what's
I'm,
going on?
yeah, we love talking boxing like every day. But my question to you is, do you ever would you ever think about getting back into boxing, like working for the USA team, national team, and think about using that to help the youth? I hate talking in front of people and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. No. Hey, but thank you so much, man. Hey, I'm so happy you're on the call, man. I hear good things about you. So, I'm on the U.S. Olympic National Boxing Board right now, and I just was nominated to the vice president. So it's a great way to give back to a sport that played a major role in my life. And in that role, I want to make sure that I can be a voice for these kids, to make sure, or young athletes, to make sure that they don't get taken advantage of by the professional promoters, but also to strive for excellence and to be a champion in and out of the ring. It's so important. Shorty taught me it's more important to be a champion out of the ring than it is to be in the ring. And so that always resonated with me. So I want to encourage those individuals to make sure that they work really hard to achieve their goals, and they stay in school as well. And then they make good, proper decisions before they jump into the professional ranks, because so many of these young athletes are taken advantage of, and I don't want that to happen.
All right. I see a few more questions coming in. I don't know if I'll get to them all just for the time, but we'll call this the speed round then. So let me ask, and I'm going to ask this one here. I see that I don't want to skip, because as a bookseller, Roy asks, appreciate your example and leadership all these years. In fact, there's a lot of people from a lot of different parts of your life saying in here how much they appreciate your leadership. What books are you reading now? And when you hit lows, what do you focus on to pull you through those moments and stay focused?
Yeah, I read a lot of spiritual reading from Jose Maria Escriva, the Bible, just good books like, Love Your Enemies by Arthur Brooks, Leading with Gratitude, books on virtues. But my favorite right now is My Journey from Boxing Ring to Boardroom, 5 Virtues for Life and Leadership. Hands down, it's the best.
John Stelmacher actually asks, speaking of your experience on the USA Boxing Board, any comments on that, and what's the outlook for the USA Olympic boxing team next year?
Yeah, it's very disappointing to many of these athletes that need to wait now another year because of the pandemic. The fear with some of these athletes is that they'll want to turn pro because they'll make more money pro versus as an amateur and waiting for the Olympics. So I'm there to encourage them to wait. I think it's worth waiting. Winning that gold medal, and if you win a gold medal, you can get a lot more money from the promoters. So they don't want that, right? They want you now, and they've stolen some boxers already. Not from the Olympics, but they get these boxers young, 16, 17, 18 years old, because they can pay them much less if they don't win a gold medal. So I just want to encourage them to stick in there, just one more year. And the Olympics is a beautiful experience. It's nothing like the honor and prestige of representing the United States of America. The national anthem, it's just a wonderful feeling.
All right, I think this will be our last question here. Jonathan Jackson says, your life story and your commitment to the community is inspiring. I hope you consider political office in the future, as our country would be better for it. Interested?
No, thank you. I feel like I've been there, done that with my roles in city government, county government, and state government, and I feel like I've done enough purgatory time, and I'm very blessed where I'm at right now. I feel I can make a huge impact on the lives of many people that really need help, and also in a great organization where I can learn from my colleagues and grow with my colleagues. And so I'm so happy on this side. So thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it. I'm flattered, but no thanks. So I just want to end off with encouraging people to live out these virtues. You know, magnanimity, go out there and strive for greatness, and be dedicated, determined, and disciplined to achieve that greatness. Do something that is remarkable and honorable, not only for yourself, your family, but the people that surround you. And go out there and serve others. The more you serve others, the more you will get back in return. And I want you to face your fears and fight to do the right thing through courage. We need more courageous people now more than ever. And I want to encourage you to go out there and fail. Yes, go out there and fail, because if you're not failing, you're probably taking it too easy. You're not stretching yourself. But then when you fail, learn from those failures and you will become a stronger person. And I also want to encourage you to act with temperance, self-control, and restraint now more than ever. If you take all of these virtues, and there's one word that evolves and emerges, and that word is love. And I think right now we need love more than ever. We have this political polarization. We have this civil unrest. We have a lack of health and well-being in our society. And if we loved our neighbor the way we should love ourselves, we would be much better. So I want to encourage you all to thank you for being on this call. And I hope that you feel inspired to live out these virtues, and let's start loving each other better and more. Thank you.
Hector, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Okay, bye-bye.